Well, many blessings to everyone. I hope that you guys, of course, are always doing wonderful. You know, sometimes I come up with a video on the mystery teachings, which of course we love. And sometimes I just hone in on a particular subject, a share that is speaking to me or to some of the students, some of the beautiful ones who send me messages. And this definitely was one of those subjects. Of course, I have my complimentary energy with me. Bobby, how are you, love? I love you. Thank you for being here. And you know, it's a subject that we have spoken about and explored for some time now. But just recently, actually, I've had some students reach out and ask me what my thoughts were on ayahuasca, right? More than once, enough to sort of give me the sort of inspiration to say, how about if we have a little share on this subject, right? Of course, as always, before we begin, there's never a right or wrong here. We accept what resonates. Please leave at the video what doesn't resonate, what doesn't speak to you, right? But of course, calling in all the guides and the elders to step in and to hold the feel for us as we talk about this ancient subject that is actually encircling and encompassing shamanism, right? So, do we need ayahuasca in order to ascend? And I specifically chose to address that. Like, do we really need to ascend in order to explore ayahuasca? Right? And I am going to say as an elder that the answer is absolutely not, that we do not need to really do anything in order to ascend other than to be open for ascension, right?
Yes.
And the avenues, the many paths that we take in that direction, of course, that are going to guide us and navigate us to those higher places. But can ayahuasca be an avenue, a direction, right? And so what do you think? And I know I'm going to interrupt and say that I know that you've had experience with ayahuasca.
Yes.
So tell us, share with us what your thoughts are.
Well, it was a calling that I've always wanted to do when I started, diving into shamanism. Mm-hmm. And I always had the urge, I always wanted something more, and ayahuasca was kind of like an answer. Everybody's saying that they had all these experiences with ayahuasca. Mm-hmm. I saw everything. I saw the cosmos. It's life changing. And for some people, I totally resonate with it. I mean, if people can go that route, but I feel in my experience that I really did not need it. I did not need it at the time, because people look at ayahuasca and they say, they think it's like a quick fix. Mm-hmm. That automatically they're gonna have this huge awakening, and I'm never gonna be the same. Maybe for some people, but I believe that ayahuasca is only part of it. Ayahuasca, I have total reverence for the plant medicine. I have total respect, reverence, and God bless if people want to do that. That's fine. I feel with my experience, though, that the ayahuasca, the plant medicine, actually shows you something. Mm-hmm. And what you choose to do with that information, and what you do is all about how you deal with it afterward, the integration of it. Mm-hmm. Now, the integration of it, you can have a moment where, okay, you have clarity, but it's not much clarity under the, while under the plant medicine.
Why, the influence, you say?
Yes, mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, it was an experience. It was an experience. But what I felt with ayahuasca, it was actually telling me, it was showing me what my purpose was. Now, to see what your purpose was, and what is, and what you do with it is totally two different things. I mean, yeah, you can be shown something, but if you don't actually apply it, with the integration of it, what do you do with that information? What do you do when you see this? What the plant medicine shows you? How are you going to apply that now? How are you going to actually, fulfill that? Now, the integration, I think, is 90% of it.
Yeah.
What you do, what you've been shown, and that's what the plant medicine is showing you. It's showing you something about yourself, and it's, I think it's a lot. You have to really be careful. You have to be under a shaman. That's necessary. My experience was that with ayahuasca, I went to a place where it was just a whole lot of people, and it wasn't ran correctly, I feel, because I believe ayahuasca is kind of like an intimate thing, and not to like 100 people. And thank you for your guidance that I was actually able to get through it. Because when I went in there, 100% of the people, when I saw, in the beginning of it, everybody was all excited, rah. And we're going to be showing something, our life is going to change. But after that experience, after that weekend, after 3 days of it, I saw about maybe 40 to almost 50% left there not the same, and it wasn't in a good way. I saw a lot of people broken, and I believe that because they weren't under a shaman, which is very important. I mean, the shaman is going to go in there and guide you, and to do a soul retrieval. One of the scariest things I saw over there was somebody needed a soul retrieval, and there were no shamans. And when I saw that person afterward, he was never the same. So I believe, yes, I have reverence for it, but you really have to be under an experienced shaman to do that. But for my experience, what it was showing me afterward is what I had to work on, and the integration of that in order to grow and to expand. I believe that was the most important thing. So it was kind of like the message.
Okay. And that's so much there already, and before we keep going, I just want to say that we honor and have reverence, of course, for all the great shamans, all the medicine elders, and the many indigenous shamans who concentrate primarily, in South America or indigenous cultures, who really do have a lot of reverence for ayahuasca and the process Unfortunately, that is not always found here. We always cannot go to South America or to an indigenous culture as such, where plant medicine and shamanism are our way of living, right? Sacred living for these beautiful shamans. And so, one of the reasons why I felt highlighted to bring this subject up is because as we continue to grow and ascend and explore in all areas, right, all over the world, ayahuasca has been something that many are curious to explore, and they cannot always go to South America. And so there's many, and by the way, I'm not here to say as well that any institution, organization that is not in South America is not a good one. I'm sure that there is. I think the key here is a shaman which is one of the principles of shamanism, with integrity, right? Of course, discipline being the other principle, and reverence. And when we find a shaman who brings those attributes and then incorporates it into, a ceremony or practice that they're offering, others, then we stand a much better chance of having a good experience that may take us then to other levels of awakening. I personally, I know that Bobby's gonna continue to share, but I am an elder shaman. I've practiced shamanism, not in South America, but all over the world here for over 25 years. I have thousands of students, and I'm gonna lovingly say that my observation is that we do not need ayahuasca in order to awaken, to ascend. And if we have a desire to have a experience, because somehow it's calling us, well, of course, as we should have, we may be called for many experiences to go on a shaman quest,
Yes.
To sit in silence, to go to the Himalayas. We may have many callings, and so, but I personally, as an elder, feel that that we need to be very mindful if that's a calling that we really have. And the greatest calling and the greatest mindfulness is to make sure that if that's something that you're being called to do, that you connect with an experienced medicine
Yes.
person, shaman, who is going to mentor you and support you and guide you through that experience. And furthermore, I'm going to say that even if you do have that wonderful experience, that the integration
Yes.
of the self through a path, a journey, is ultimately what's going to get you there. It's not the ayahuasca. It's not even the wonderful experience that you may have. It will be part of, but not the all-to-do experience.
You say wonderful experience. I mean,
Well.
I saw people, they had wonderful experiences. I was in the cosmos, I was this and that. And I saw people, they were having nightmares.
Yes, I'm sure.
And
I'm sure.
yeah, of course, that's something that they have to look at within themselves.
Yes. Yes. So I want to say, so what can happen with an ayahuasca experience? And again, we are here to just have an open conversation. I am an elder shaman, so I just really want to bring that into the forefront as we discuss it. Not that we're just kind of throwing this out there, but just really, creating a foundation for the things that we can bring into the field. So what can happen? Obviously, ayahuasca induces an altered state of reality. Can induce definitely an altered state of reality, which is why many of the seekers, want to explore ayahuasca. There is no doubt that for the shamans, they're seeing it much more than just having an altered state of reality. They do know that you're going to integrate with this sacred plant medicine. So it's almost like it's two different things for so many, in that, I want to have this high, I want to be out of my body, I want to have this experience, right? The thing is, right, and again, looking at it from the eyes of a seeker as opposed to through the eyes of a medicine man. The medicine person, shaman, is going to hold space for you regardless of what your ultimate experience is going to be. They're going to honor that through that integration of the plant medicine,
Yes.
that whatever needs to be opened as a gateway for you is going to be open, yes?
Yes.
Right? And this is what a lot of people may not understand, that that the shaman at that point is holding a field. They're not navigating, they're not, they're not controlling in any way other than hopefully supporting you through the purge, or through the experience of ayahuasca, right? Hopefully. Right. But whatever gateway is open through the subconscious is what you're going to experience, which I think is why you said a little while ago that people were having a lot of nightmares.
Oh, it was horrific, actually. People were going through a bad time, and I'm not saying anything negative about it, because like I said, I have the utmost reverence for it and the ceremony. But I feel, could I have done without it? Yes. Yes, I could have. I could have. Me, wanting, because I took a vision quest years ago, and there was talks about ayahuasca and everything, and I just, I just needed to experience it. But if I would have known what I know now, I would have done it a different way. I felt like, it was going to be like, okay, the unveiling. The unveiling, it shows you things about yourself. And the things about yourself are you can work on. And like we're saying, the integration of that is so important. I believe that's like 95% of it. Because what do you do with it now? Okay, I saw a person, when I was doing that experience, that person was there about 60 times.
And that was really important to highlight, as we shared, what Bobby shared with me, that over that weekend, he observed many things, and in particular, one individual, more than one, but one individual in particular, who had an ayahuasca, had repetitively come back over 60 times. And that really spoke to me, because what it says is that they're trying to seek something, and obviously they're trying to seek something, and that it becomes a short fix, because the integration of what should follow, an ayahuasca experience, a purging experience, cacao experience, mushroom experience, regression experiences, that we should be able to look at the pieces and see how they apply to us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, of course, and then work, begin the work.
Yes.
The work.
It's only the start.
Right, yeah.
I felt when I left that, and believe me, let me just tell you one thing about the ayahuasca. The ayahuasca, it does not let you go. It's going to show you something. I felt like that ayahuasca was in me for a week. Even though I purged, but I still felt it. And it's not going to let you go unless it shows you something. And once it shows you something is what you choose to do with it. And that's where the real work starts. Right. That's where yes, you had the experience, but afterward, that's when it really starts. That's when you really step in and you start working on yourself and you start stepping into it and start by, continue, okay, you were shown something. Okay, now what do you want to do about it? Now you're going to work on yourself. And I've seen a lot of people, they regress back and they feel like, okay, I have to go back to the ayahuasca. I have to go back to the ayahuasca because I'm not getting it. But yet, a lot of them are not willing to do the work.
Right.
There is work to do.
Well, it's that thought that there is no work to do. That if we're going to, invest all this time, energy, perhaps money in, going on a quest for ayahuasca to have the experience, then that's it. That's the investment, and we should have the answers. Is the frame of thought that many may have, and so it could be a disappointment. And as Bobby said earlier, there could be people who then continuously keep returning over and over again because they are looking for that answer outside of them, even within the ayahuasca medicine itself.
Yes.
You know, because the ayahuasca may very well show you something, but it's not going to keep repeating itself, nor is it going to change its direction because you're not getting it through your own integration.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
like it's going to keep reflecting itself to you.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to do the work afterward.
Yeah. So, you know, let's take a few minutes to just talk about what that work would be. And again, as an elder, I'm an advocate that we should do. I personally, as a shaman, feel as an elder that the greatest work that we can do is the conscious work, right? And I use that word very deliberately. Conscious meaning that we don't need the influence of anything unless you choose to. Conscious also means that you are walking the steps, whatever those steps may be, to heal, you know, to explore and to expand. How do we do that? Well, there's a number of ways of which we can do it, but ultimately it will lead us to work with someone, I feel, even if it's for a short period of time. Of course, so many of my students have done the apprenticeship because that is another way. If you don't work one-on-one with with a mentor, at the very least, then at some point you should be called to do an apprenticeship so that you can do this work, because that is what we're looking for. You know, like that's the ultimate goal as you go into the journey, right?
Yes.
So tell me about that. You know, did you find those answers after ayahuasca? Did you find them in the apprenticeship? Like, what happened?
Yes, the ayahuasca showed me things. It showed me that I had to work. It showed me I had to work at it.
Right.
Because that was the whole thing. I mean, what do you choose to do? Mm-hmm. And that's when I really started stepping in and to my practice. And that's where everything starts coming together. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're consciously aware of it. Mm-hmm. When you're consciously aware of it, and then ayahuasca gave me an answer to something, what I was seeking. Now I had to work at it. Mm-hmm. And it's not like it's...
So what was it looking for when you did the ayahuasca? What was it trying to show you? To what?
Well, I can tell you about experiences, but it really wouldn't make a difference, to tell you I experienced this and experienced that. Yeah, I experienced things, but it was actually telling me something. It was showing me something about myself. Okay. And that it wasn't where being whole. It was showing me being whole with myself. Mm-hmm.
So was it inviting you to become whole? Is that what you're saying?
It was inviting me to work on myself, to step in, to see that, everything around me was, being created by myself, with myself. Mm-hmm. Most of my bad times, I was creating it myself. Mm-hmm. And it was showing me that you're the one, you're responsible for it. All right? And what do you want to do about it? And it was an experience, but I believe most of my healing and growing was afterward. Mm-hmm. Was afterward, because I made a conscious choice of what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Yeah, ayahuasca showed me something, but what did I want to do? I had to start working on myself. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's where everything started coming together. That's where you feel whole again. Mm-hmm. You feel, it's an unbelievable experience, and you're conscious of it. And you're conscious of it because Now you're not going to forget. Because, you know, a lot of the experiences you're going to forget. You know, and, you know, an important thing, what I would like to say is journaling. Journaling is very important. And you made a choice. Now what do you want to do with it? If you make a conscious choice, what do you want to do with it? Now you have to work.
Right.
A lot of people are, you know, they just don't want to do the work.
Yeah. You know, and I want to say, you know, when we talk about ayahuasca and, you know, the indigenous shamans and what happens here versus, say, what happens in the north, you know, with the more modern shamans, right, is that ayahuasca, the experience of ayahuasca could be very radical. You know, I feel that that's a great word to use. It can be very radical in that you are coming in perhaps with no preparation, you know, and you're going to see a lot, experience a lot, and then you're going to have to figure out the pieces, you know, like the answers maybe right in your horizon, and yet you're going to have to search for them, you know. So I would say that if someone, as an elder myself, that if someone is you know, being called to, has a deep calling to do ayahuasca, that it should be actually after, way after, they've invested time in devoting themselves to the practice, that have worked with a shaman actually, that probably have started through an apprenticeship, and now having all of that as a foundation, that at that point, if you would like to explore it, then you're going to be in a much better position. Yes, would you agree with that?
I totally agree with that, because if I did not, if I did not, you know, go by your teachings, your guidance, I believe I would have had a real horrific experience. A really horrific experience, and I believe you really should start working before you even attempt to do something like that, because excuse me, because it's gonna hit you off the head. And it's like I said, you know, a lot of people were there for the wrong reason. Some people are there for the wrong reason, to catch that experience and everything like that, and they're still trying. You know, people are, you know, even though they go through it, they're still chasing that. Yeah,
and you know, that brings me a lot of compassion, you know, when I observe it, when I hear about it, because many people are desperately seeking, you know, there's such a variety of reasons why someone would be called, you know. For some is the, you know, the calling itself, or, you know, they're a seeker and, you know, they're looking to explore. And then there are many others who are broken already, and the ayahuasca experience then becomes a desperate attempt, almost as a salvation, you know, because they're already dealing with very deep issues, and they're hoping that the ayahuasca medicine will create a miracle for them, of sorts. And that, you know, it renders a lot of compassion as an observer, because most likely that is not going to be the experience, you know. And of course, we're never going to box anything and say that it can't be possible, but most likely someone who's broken is not going to have that miracle, because they need to go through the process of being unbroken, right? Of, you know, of the healing process, right? In order to find themselves.
Well, I believe consciously that you can do that. I believe you can do it without the ayahuasca.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
If you're conscious of it, and you know what, you're conscious of it, but you know, also it's a good thing to have a teacher.
Absolutely.
A teacher is very important.
Thank you.
Because if you do not know what you're getting into or what you're doing, or you know, sometimes your teacher is actually gonna point out something to you.
Yes, very
point out something to you that you may not even realize. You may not even realize it. You like, and then you'll take a step back and you'll listen to it, and you'll be like, and I never seen that before. And you know, even today, and you know, going through apprenticeships, like the last apprenticeship we went through, that there's always something to work on. That there's always something hidden in there that can come up, and it comes up through your practice, through ceremonies, fire ceremony. I think it's a beautiful thing. Even you administer cacao.
Yes, yes.
And it's not as intense as ayahuasca, but you know
right,
what?
it's a gentler type of medicine, but it does have effects as well, beautiful effects in opening up your heart center.
But one of the things is, you know, what you've taught us, and the one thing, whenever you go through like a ritual or a fire ceremony, cacao, ayahuasca, you should be, you should have your heart open. Because if you go into anything, even consciously, with just a closed heart, you just, okay, you know, I'm going to go through this ritual. No, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to give and surrender to it. Once you surrender to it, it's also going to show you. It's also going to show you whether it's ayahuasca, which is, but whether it's cacao, or whether it's a fire ceremony, just being open to expand.
Yes.
And by doing that, having an open heart. And that's when things start coming to you, where you go through these initiations. And I don't know, a lot of people don't believe in initiations where, you know, when you openly open your heart and you surrender to it, it's gonna take you somewhere. It's gonna show you things, and you're gonna go through an initiation. I went through, and this is not even the cacao, I went through consciously initiations where I felt like I was falling apart. And that wasn't even ayahuasca. That was conscious. But the reason why that came on was because I stepped in with an open heart. And I was open and I surrendered to it.
Right.
And the elders, the guides, everything is going to come to you, and it's going to work on you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And it may not be pleasant. It may not be pleasant. And the one thing I have to say is, when you're going to do the work and you're going to step in, you know, things aren't going to be pleasant all the time. You're going to be shown things about yourself, and you're not going to want to see it. You're not going to want to know about it, but you're going to be shown it. And you know what? It's going to hit you, and you're going to be like...
Well, you know, I want to make the comparison, and this is so divinely true, which is, you know, whether we do this work consciously, hopefully that's the most optimal way.
I recommend this.
Right, or this way or that way. You know, what we need to, as we consider all of this, as you consider all of this, is, so what's the most optimal outcome? And the outcome is going to be is that whatever debris, subconscious, suppression, trauma is hidden within you, within your circular, cellular, DNA, you know, ancestral, doesn't matter. It is then going through your willingness to want to take this journey,
yes.
Right? You're going to be guided in many different ways then to slowly bring up, right, all that has been hidden. And I use that word very deliberately because as Bobby is then saying, you know, it's not to say that you're going through go through a crisis, you may have a few miniature crises as you go through the process, and how could you not? Because it is your willingness is then going to take you through a journey of bringing up whatever suppressed and unconscious debris may have been sitting there in your entire life, right? And it's going to do it as gently as it can, because you are then being guided, you are being supported, and you are on a journey. But nonetheless, every once in a while, I know it sounds silly, but I'm gonna just say it because it's gonna rotor you, into like, okay, now it's time to like really clean this up, And so every once in a while, we, through that journey, you may have like a rotor experience, and I'm not talking just about your bowel movements. I'm talking about purge, right? It's not only that. A purge could be emotional.
Yes.
Actually, most of the time it could be emotional. It could be mental, and then it can be physical. And and there may be times when you may ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? Why is this happening to me? I thought this was supposed to be a good experience. And I remind the beloveds, it is. It is. But if we really want to get to another level of transformation, then how do we, I want to say this, where do we expect that this is going to go? That just by osmosis is just going to, miraculously just transform itself. No, you have to be in the living experience of it. Like, you have to own it, And so for that reason, because you're consciously owning all of this debris or whatever trauma, right? Then it cannot bypass you.
Yes.
So there's going to be some residue. There's going to be some, minor initiations, and
because it may be something that you haven't looked at, and you know what, you're not even aware of.
Right.
And it's going to come up.
Well, that's another important thing. A lot of times we become our own guru, so to speak. That we want to take care of everything, that we're going to handle everything, that we're going to manage it. And, that's a very big challenge when we do that. And the biggest challenge is because you really don't know your own truth many a times. You do not know your own truth. And so it's a beautiful blessing to be able to have a mentor who's going to call you out, who's going to guide you, who's going to love you, who's going to support you as you move through this process, and share some hard truths with you about certain things that you do need to know in order to get to another level of ascension, of growth, right?
I believe it's your determination where you have to be disciplined.
Yes.
You have to be disciplined, because if you just can't walk away from it. If you walk away from it, you're just walking away from yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So,
bringing it up because we can talk about this for a very long time. I hope that we were able actually to answer some of those inquiries that people have messaged me with regarding ayahuasca. Of course, we give you blessings. I give you blessings if you are being called, to have that experience. Of course, sharing with you today the benefits of not needing to have an experience of ayahuasca unless you are really prepared. The recommendation from myself as an elder, that if that's something that you really want to partake in, that maybe you should invest some time in, an apprenticeship, working with a shaman, and really growing and expanding before you have that experience.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that I think the biggest message is that you can do all of this work consciously without needing to be under the influence. If you feel that you need to be under the influence of something in order to get to a higher place, and the answer is absolutely not. You can have the experience if you choose to. You don't need to have the experience. There's two different things, right?
Yes.
The greatest gift that you give to yourself is to be conscious, and that means doing the work, forgiveness, radical forgiveness of the self, learning what that means, you know, learning the principles, you know, of loving yourself unconditionally. Like, these are all the stepping stones that are going to lead us to that place of ascension and of awakening. Yes?
I believe.
So we leave you with that. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know what you thought. And while you're here, please take a moment to like the video, to share it, like, share, and I know I'm forgetting something else.
Notification.
And the notifications, right? So many of you watch the videos, but don't take a moment to give a like. It's so very important for the algorithms of how the video is even shown to the outer audiences. So please take a moment to like the video and to leave a comment, right? And of course, we're always here. I'll be back with a mystery teaching on the next video. Until then, I leave you with my love. I leave you with my light. And I leave you with my peace. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
yes.
you.
And we love you so very much.
Peace, love, and blessings.
Mwah. Love you. Love you.
Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.